Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. The South African National Space Agency has revealed that it's planning the development of a new satellite next year. The news comes as the agency seeks to regain control of the damaged Sumbandila satellite. Engineering News senior contributing editor Keith Campbell joins me to take a look at local and international space developments. Keith, welcome to Second Take. The Sumbandila has been out of contact with its mission control since July. What happened and how serious is the damage?
It is believed that Sumbandila was hit by a blast of solar radiation that damaged at least one of its control-related systems, and the satellite is apparently now tumbling out of control. The exact level of damage I don't think anyone is certain of yet, because the satellite has not been in communication with ground control since July. The engineers from Sunspace who designed and built the satellite are still hopeful that control will be achievable, but they want to wait until the Sumbandila's battery has charged up. Now, this event occurred in midwinter. The orbit the satellite is in means that in this period it's not getting as much exposure to the sun as normal. It only has one solar panel to provide energy to recharge the battery. So they're waiting for the satellite to have more exposure to the sun during the southern summer, allowing the battery to recharge further to give them the energy they think they need to work on the systems and redirecting control paths and uploading new instructions. So they haven't given up on the satellite yet. They're still trying, but summer seems to be the decisive period. If they don't re-establish control by the end of summer, then they'll probably have to reevaluate the situation.
Could you shed more light on the agency's plan to build a second satellite?
Well, there are very few details available at the moment. They hope to start the program next year. It will take 3 to 4 years to complete, and that would see a launch in 2014 or 2015. One thing that has been revealed is it'll probably cost about 400 million rand. This indicates that it's going to be larger and much more sophisticated than Sumbandila is. Sumbandila cost about 11 million rand to build. In the eyes of the space agency, SANSA, Sumbandila was and is a prototype satellite, not really an operational satellite, even though it supplied over 1,100 usable images over the 2 years it's been in orbit. The next satellite is seen as being the first truly operational South African satellite. It would have backup systems which Sumbandila does not have, so if one system got knocked out, the backup system would come online and replace it. So many of the problems that Sumbandila has suffered from, the follow-up satellite will not suffer from. But that, of course, increases costs considerably, as we can see from the 400 million rand price tag.
South Africa will host a high-level international astronautical conference in Cape Town next month. Does this indicate that the country is finally being taken seriously in terms of space science and technology?
The answer, in short, is yes. South Africa, in general, is respected for its technological capabilities, but of course the space sector in this country is very, very small. It's growing, but it's still very, very small, and so it doesn't make much of an impact on the world stage. Getting the IAC to Cape Town is a tremendous feather in South Africa's cap. It is really a very big deal indeed in terms of the space industry, space sector. This is the big global conference on space exploration, spacecraft, space services, everything to do with space, whether it's research and development, commercial activities, industry, technology, operating the spacecraft, carrying out exploration, sending probes to other planets, landing rovers on Mars, manned space flight. The whole shebang is covered by this. This is a really really the big one in terms of space conferences. So it's a tremendous boost for South Africa. It allows South Africa's space sector, the small space industry, but also the space agency and other areas in South Africa involved in space to present themselves on the world stage. I mean, this is a conference to watch all the top people come. The heads of the big, of the space divisions of the big companies, the heads of the major space agencies, the administrator of NASA, the US National Aeronautics and Space Administration, is due to be here for this conference. It's barring accidents, the head of the European Space Agency will be here, the head of the Russian Space Agency, Roscosmos, the head of the Chinese Space Agency. Just about everybody who is anybody in space will be at this conference. Now, this is great for South Africa.
And finally, Keith, the US recently unveiled its new heavy lift rocket program. Briefly, what will it entail?
Well, this is incredibly exciting because after a period of a number of years of apparent drift, indecision, argument, NASA has finally come out with their plan for a new, very big rocket indeed, that is intended to take astronauts beyond low Earth orbit again for the first time since the cancellation of the Apollo program that put astronauts on the moon some 40 or more years ago. It's going to involve the design and construction of the biggest, most powerful rocket ever. The initial versions will be intended to put payloads of 70 tons in orbit. Currently, the biggest commercially available rockets, such as the Mariaan 5 of Europe or America's Delta IV Heavy, can launch about 20 tons into low Earth orbit. So this is a big advance in that. But the later models of the new rocket, which is called the Space Launch System, or SLS, will be intended to put 130 tons in orbit. This is to allow the construction, the launch and assembly of spacecraft, crewed spacecraft, for missions to the moon and beyond the moon, and eventually to be able to assemble a spacecraft that could take astronauts and probably cosmonauts too. It'll probably be a major international joint program between the Americans, Europeans, Russians, and quite possibly others, all the way to Mars. Now, this means the Americans are getting back into real space exploration in a serious way again after spending something like 40 years paddling in the shallow end of low Earth orbit.
Keith, thank you very much. That is the Second Take show for this week. Thank you for watching and join us again next time for more news analysis.